expenses and our funding guidelines, reporting requirements and funding request. Okay.
So I'm Fiona Bond, Executive Director of Creative Waco, and of course this is Shane Turner, owner and operator of the Hippodrome.
All right, so we will recess until 1 o'clock tomorrow. So it's 11. All right, good morning. Let's call court to order. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, February 25th, 2022 at 3:10 p.m.
Thank you. And if anyone has a public comment, they can come forward now from the audience. Yes, sir.
My name is Shannon Caraway. I'm Vice President for Business Development for a company called Solar Prime. Currently, we're trying to develop another 300 megawatt solar farm and 300 megawatt battery energy storage project here in McLennan County. And it's out north of Trading House Creek Reservoir, that area there. We're preparing to submit a proposal to this body soon for a county tax abatement for the project, and just wanted to stop by ahead of time, introduce ourselves, and tell you what we're doing.
Going to D on the proclamations resolutions. We have nothing this week. Under E, under consent agenda, I have no recommended pulls. Does anyone else have a pull from the consent agenda they want to discuss? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, Dustin.
Yes, sir. Judge, if we could go to item N1, this is discussion and or action on matters regarding COVID-19.
These case numbers have decreased for the hospitals.
All right, Judge, do you want to accept that for recording purposes?
Yes, is there a motion to accept that report for recording purposes?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, if we could go to item N10, presentation from Texas State Technical College regarding Central Texas Industrial Training Center.
There's a mismatch between the number of jobs that are available and the number of people that are available to fill those positions.
Move to accept for recording purposes. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, if we could go to item N6, this is the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce Monthly Economic Development Report for January 2022.
Know that we have had one project announcement for this first quarter, and that was in McGregor with Messer.
All right, if there's no questions, there a motion to approve the chamber report for recording purposes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
All right, we can go back up to item F, budget amendments. F1's regarding the FY22 budget. Francis?
FY22 budget amendments, starting with F1A.
Is there a motion to approve F1D through F1I?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Under item G, bids, RFPs,
Recording in progress.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, December the 20th. 4.5 more shopping days till Christmas. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Wednesday, December 14th, 2022 at 4:45 PM, and the supplemental agenda was posted on Friday, December 16th, 2022 at 4:10 PM.
Thank you. All right, let's pause briefly for a moment of silence. We'll stand and then we'll have a pledge to the flags by our Veteran Service Officer, Steve Hernandez.
Please join in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. We have several guests here this morning representing different organizations, and we will put those on the front of the agenda after we do a little bit of housekeeping. So if there's any members of the public here to talk to the court on business matters not included in your presentations, please do so at this time. Seeing none, and I don't believe anyone called in as well. Seeing none, we'll move on to under item D, proclamations and resolutions. Under D1, Commissioner Miller.
Good morning and thank you. Once again, the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, and that's the Antioch Church that's over there next to Kate Ross. They had a special ceremony because they refurbished their sanctuary. And so on December 11th, I gave them a proclamation just dedicating their post-reconstruction of the edifice. And I want to thank the court again. It was one of those routine proclamations that we do. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to do those for them. They just wanted some recognition from the court that they were indeed going into a new refurbished sanctuary. And so we just need to ratify it because I gave it to them on December 11th. And so if there are no questions or issues, I would move to approve D1.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, I'd like to go to the consent agenda, and I have recommended pulls under E3A, HR matter and DA's office, and then E6, hotel occupancy report. Are there any other recommended pulls? If not, with the exception of those pulls previously mentioned, is there a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, Dustin, I want to hold those two pulled items for discussion later after we have our various presentations. So if you will take it over from here and introduce the presentations.
Yes, sir. So moving down to item I, capital improvement. I1 is regarding capital improvement projects for the Cameron Park Zoo, agreement with the city of Waco. I-1A is authorization of permit, set of plans, construction documents, and specifications. And we have two of these today. I-1A1 is regarding the Penguin exhibit, and I-1A2 is regarding the Education Center and Vet Hospital. I'd like to call on Derek Altman to give these presentations.
Good morning, Judge Felton and
Morning.
Dexter's. I'm Johnny Binder. I'm the zoo director, and Derek Altman is the interim director of the City of Waco Facilities Department. And I'm going to be giving a brief overview of the Cameron Park Zoo Expansion Project, Education and Veterinary Complex Penguin Exhibit. And Derek is going to go a little more in-depth into the materials and other layouts. The court received a full set of plans for both projects on December 1st and 5th. And today we will highlight some of the more prominent aspects of the projects. And I gotta say, this is a really exciting time for Cameron Park Zoo in the city of Waco.
Absolutely.
And the Zoological Society, because we're having our groundbreaking on Thursday. And so it's gonna be nice and chilly, so everyone wear their jackets. The first project we'll be highlighting is the Education Center and Veterinary Complex. Slide, please. We skipped ahead.
Yeah, back one more.
If you could back up, please. Okay. This is the first project we'll be highlighting. It's the Education Center and the Veterinary Complex. And you can kind of see it's located adjacent to 4th Street, our main entryway, and then our parking lot is there on the right side of the slide. The building that's illustrated there in white is our current zoo commissary and veterinary area.
Yeah, sure. A couple of notes about it. The total building is 20,588 square feet, including the outdoor caging areas. The buildings are located to take advantage of the existing parking lot for public access to the Education Center and the existing maintenance area at the Vet Hospital loading zone. There were some steep grade changes on this property that were existing, so the architects and engineers decided the best approach would be to work with those grade changes, which resulted in two slightly different elevated buildings for the Education Center and the other for the Vet Hospital. Next slide.
Slide, please. Here you see an image of the front of the Education Center from the parking lot where our buses will stop and unload all the kids from the different schools. And this is It's an interesting concept for the design of this building. I think it's a beautiful building that will complement our other buildings as well as the site.
Yeah, the Education Center will serve as a public face to the zoo, but it was designed so that it wouldn't be confusing to be the entrance to the zoo. So we used different building elements such as the roof line to gesture and point guests toward the main entry.
Slide, please. This is an image of the covered entry walkway in the bus drop-off area leading towards the existing zoo entrance.
So similarly to the roof line, one of the other elements that we used to try to connect this facility to the main entrance were the stamped footprints in the walkway kind of leading between the two areas. Another thing that I wanted to point out in this image was the exposed glulam structure of the building kind of provides a natural element to the building and helps tie it into the surrounding landscapes.
Mm-hmm. Slide, please. And this is another view of the entry plaza and glass windows and doors leading to the entry vestibule.
The standing seam, metal roof, and the brick were used on this structure because those were elements and building materials that are heavily present in other buildings at the zoo. But we wanted to design the structure to feel new and modern, but we also wanted it to kind of feel familiar and not too out of place with the existing structures. Some of the other things that we did here along that walkway is we put some pretty large windows that kind of visually share space with the interior corridor, which you'll see in a minute, as well as the exterior corridor going between the two to give guests kind of a glimpse of what's inside. And the large skylight and front glazing provide copious amounts of natural light and views into the main lobby of the space.
Slide, please. The upper image is a view of the south elevation. The building with the higher roof line is the veterinary hospital, and the education center's outside animal holding can be seen to the right of the vet building. The lower image of the slide is the east elevation view, showing the entrance of the education center. Next slide, please. This slide shows the north elevation of the education center, where there is an exit door that leads out to the outdoor classroom area. To the right, with the higher roof line, is the veterinary building with a view of the animal outside holding area. The lower image is the back of both the education center and the veterinary center, with ample outdoor holding for both the veterinary patients and the education animal ambassadors will also be held there. This is the planned outdoor classroom area at the side exit of the education center. And we do a lot of outdoor education for schools and a lot of other groups. It's just a very natural area where on nice, pretty days, we can do lots of outdoor experiences with the children.
Yeah, we wanted to keep this space very versatile. So here we're showing it with blocks set up like in a classroom style. But this space is between the education center and the walkway to the entrance. So it would also be a good location to have, you know, pop-up events or pop-up shops. It could be all kinds of different things just to try to maximize the versatility and utilize that cantilevered overhanging roof that's on that edge of the building.
Slide, please. So here's the floor plan for the education center, and you can see in the middle there's 4 classrooms, but it can be divided however you would like. It can be one large room for large groups of kids, or it can be meeting spaces, it can be traveling exhibits, or it can be special parties. And so there's a lot of room there to provide all of that stuff.
Yeah, when we were designing the overall layout, one of the most important features, which we'll kind of touch on multiple times here, was just the versatility of the space. So in the large classrooms, when it's opened up and it's going to potentially hold a conference or another large event, we had to make sure that we were providing enough facilities. So the restrooms, for example, had to be pretty large restrooms to be able to house either smaller events or multiple smaller events at any given time, or one larger event at any time. And some of the other things that a lot of the times people don't think about were things like storage. So since these spaces are so versatile, there's going to be large amounts of furniture that's going to need to be stored and moved around. So we had to ensure that there was enough storage to house all of that furniture and dedicated IT space to provide for not only the current technologies that we're going to be implementing into the structure, but also any potential future technology as well.
Slide, please. This is a view of the lobby in the pre-function space. This is the space for staging students before sending them into the classroom areas. It can also be used for ticket sales, traveling exhibits, and other rentable space.
So on this slide, you'll see that's how we carried the wood glue lamp from the outside, brought it in, and it kind of comes through that large storefront that's there. So that storefront brings in light. It also kind of connects the entire inside space to the outside, and it makes it feel as if there's just a large natural roof structure covering the building.
Slide, please. The Bryant Public Corridor has windows that look out into the entry walkway and provides both public and staff access to the classroom space and back of house areas. This will be an excellent space to display art and is a pathway to the north side classrooms, side exit, animal holding rooms, and break room for staff. Slide, please. This is an early image and current floor plan of the classroom space. There are a few minor differences between this drawing and the final finishes, but you'll notice how the space is configured for maximum versatility. The room will have the ability to divide and subdivide, as I said, to 2, 3, or 4 individual classrooms and meeting spaces. And each space is provided with its own storage cabinetry, counter, sink space to encourage the classroom use as well as set up for special events and meetings. Individual door access to each divided space ensures ample access to the room during large events, and individual access with the large movable partitions that can be put into place.
So this meeting space, which is kind of the core of this section of the building, is approximately 3,000 square feet, and it can hold up to 180 to 200 people during a conference event style setup. The AV is set up to host virtual meetings with in-ceiling speakers and microphones. There are wall-mounted cameras and displays which can be operated as one large event, or when the classroom setup is in place, it can operate as 4 independent classroom style setups. Next slide, please.
This is a floor plan of the veterinary hospital. This is a modern hospital. It has all the features that you would use in a human hospital. It has exam, treatment, radiology, a surgical suite, and you can see the center is a very large hallway. When we're moving large, like cats and bears and other animals that are sensitive and dangerous animals, they'll be moved in crates. And so the hallways have to be wide enough to roll the crate down, make the 90-degree turn, and then attach the crate to the shift door where the animal can be put into whichever area that it needs to go for treatment or whatever. We design these for multi-purpose use. We can either use them for cats and bears, which are very large, and we can also use them for great apes like our orangutans. So it's a very versatile space. On the right side, there's an area that can be used for, if we could back up one. Thank you. On the right side, there's a space for holding small mammals, aquatic animals, and also some of our education animals that could be in quarantine. So we've made the building very versatile so we can bring a large variety of animals in and meet all of their needs, whether aquatic or not.
Sure, give the next slide for me, please. So as Johnny was saying, we had to try to maximize the different types of spaces we're able to provide for the variety of different animals that are at the zoo. So there are different rooms, there are different setups in each one of the rooms, there are different caging systems that are in each one of the rooms that are appropriate to the type of animal or the size of animal that it is designed to hold. So it goes from reptile or reptilian rooms, from aviary rooms, all the way up to carnivore and primate rooms. So there's different, gauges of caging, for example, in each room. So we had to ensure that we were providing appropriate facilities and appropriate space for each animal type. And as a result, that also kind of extended throughout the rest of the treatment facility to ensure that we're providing very durable materials that can stand to be washed down frequently, and that are resistant to a lot of potential wear and tear and use. Next slide, please.
Slide. The veterinary hospital will also provide new office facilities for staff to work and collaborate. And the space is also included is a sleeping quarters in the event that a veterinarian or another staff member may have to stay overnight for extended treatment of an animal or monitoring that animal.
Next slide, please. So the next project we'd like to review is the much anticipated Penguin Shores exhibit. While the layouts and plans for this exhibit have not significantly changed from our past presentations, we did want to take a moment to give a brief overview and share some new renderings that we've received from the architectural team with this submittal.
Slide.
The Penguin Shores exhibit has been expertly designed by Torrey Design Consortium to visually transport guests to the penguin's native environment. When fully complete, guests will enter the exhibit from the existing pathway intersection to Brazos River Country, the Meadows, and the African Savanna.
Slide, please. This view will give you a better look at the layout of the exhibit with the rondavel African huts, the shaded plaza, and black-footed cat habitat that are all ad alternates. The main building with the netted exhibit yard and shaded viewing windows is the penguin habitat itself, and that is in the base bid for the project. Slide, please. This is the floor plan for the penguin habitat. The outdoor exhibit yard and pool features rock work, which is themed concrete, which really looks like South Africa. It'll have misters and fans to keep the animals cool and also help with mosquito control. The misters will also help keep the penguin guano from staining the rocks between cleanings. The pool is fronted by a large viewing panel where there's areas for visitors to have penguin encounters, up close and personal encounters with the penguins, shown at the lower end of the beach area in the bottom of the slide. The large room to the left is the outdoor yard and also the life support room. There's a lot of life support with penguins. They do everything in the water, and so it's got to be filtered. There are ozone generators and lots of large circulating pumps to make sure that we keep this water bright, clean, and polished at all times and looking its best. Slide, please.
Oh, if you wouldn't mind if you back up one more for me. So I did have a couple of things I wanted to point out, like that Johnny had mentioned about the life safety building that's on the left there. So this facility is designed, it's two almost separate structures, although they are connected. One of them is the life safety structure, which houses all of the filters and pumps and equipment, and a network of over about 1,600 feet of plumbing necessary to operate and maintain the pools inside the exhibit. This facility, so the pools as well as the holding areas and the holding building for the exhibit is going to be capable of accommodating up to 73 birds per the 2014 AZA standards. So our initial target was for 30 animals, so this additional overhead is going to allow us ample flexibility with any changing standards or recommendations.
Slide, please.
We thank you for your time today and appreciate the opportunity to provide this presentation, highlighting all the hard work that so many people have contributed to. We're excited to break ground on these projects and look forward to the opening of these valuable facilities for our zoo and community.
In closing, again, I'd like to thank the judge and the commissioners for your attention and listening to us this morning. This has been a lot of fun. We're very excited about these projects, and we hope to present the actual project to you in not too many months. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. While you're here, are there any questions? I will say that it's very impressive look and style to this thing that's going to be, you're not going to see anything like it anywhere close around here. But it is in keeping with other new facilities that we've built in the community to be more than just average, and I really see that in this facility. I do have one question in regards to primarily, I guess you'd say, the education center. There'll be opportunities for the public to utilize these spaces, public or private. There'll be some kind of arrangement where people can come in, of course, for a fee.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
To utilize these facilities. Great.
And this will be other revenue generating areas.
Yeah.
And also other special interest areas that I believe will attract more attendance.
And have y'all got into the piece about, what's the market for utilizing public space like this or anything? In other words, try to figure out what the cost would be for public to use it.
We have been doing some research on that, and I don't know if that's been finalized, but I know the Zoological Society has been doing a lot of research on that.
Okay, good.
Estimated completion for both projects?
Derek?
And we anticipate the penguin exhibit to be open and available for animals to move in summer of 2024. And the timeline that we are laying out with the contractor for the education vet is to ensure that the medical facilities for that structure are available at that same time.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Good. Other questions? All right, Justin, I'm going to describe the action needs to be taken on these two items.
Yes, sir. So Judge, it would be a, let me jump back up to it real quick. Sorry. It would be a motion to approve that permit set of plans and construction documents.
All right, and separately, one is on the, let's see, would be on the penguin exhibit, and then the other on the
Education Center and Vet Hospital.
All right. Okay, we can, I think, look at those both at the same time. What's the pleasure of the court?
Make a motion that we approve I-1A1 regarding the Penguin exhibit construction documents and I-1A2 regarding the education center and veterinary hospital documents.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Great.
Thank you.
All right. Justin?
All right, if we can go to item M1, this is discussion and or action regarding Waco Rowing Center utilizing Trading House Park to host rowing championship event on April 21st to 22nd, 2023. I'd like to call on Matt Schertzel and Luke Walton. I believe Luke is in court and Matt will be joining by a Zoom.
Okay. Let's see, Matt, are you on?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Sorry you're not feeling well this morning.
My apologies. I
That's all
didn't
right.
want to
We
come
appreciate
infect
you not
everybody.
spreading cheer to us.
Yeah, it was a debate, I'll admit, but when I woke up with a fever, I decided against it. Yeah, so thank you guys. Really quick, just this is just intro. This is on the heels of the Waco Rowing Regatta, which we ran successfully November 6th. This is a Texas State Championship, the first of its kind in McLennan County, Trading House Creek Reservoir. And we can go to the next slide real quick. Just really quick, what is a regatta? Regatta is rowing lingo for a rowing race. The big thing that I'll touch on, and then Luke, please, get into the key points. There's just, it's even something we've learned while we've been down here is the lack of rowable bodies of water, not only in the country, not only in Texas, but internationally. And Waco and McLennan County have some of the better rowing bodies of water that I've ever seen, multiple Olympians, including Luke Walton, has ever seen. And we're just looking to activate this entire county for this sport. Luke, do you want to touch on the entries and the differences between the head race and sprint?
Sure. Just a quick commentary to Matt's point. I'm astounded. Rowing has existed for 150 plus years, and to find these bodies of water here. I'm originally from California, just moved to Waco as of about 2 months ago. Committed to this project to know what is available on the Brazos and in Trading House Creek Reservoir. It's unbelievable that we are, as a rowing community, just finding these entities in these bodies of water, but they are tremendous. Yeah, Matt?
Yeah, I think just the one of the two kind of rowing lingo words just to keep in mind over this brief presentation is that when we talk about entries, unlike some other sports, an entry equals a boat, and that can be from each boat. So each entry can be between 1 and 9 athletes, and so each boat can consist of 1 to 9 athletes, with each athlete carrying about, on average, 1.3 family members and friends. Regattas can be a head race style or a sprint race style. In the fall, what we ran and what is typical is a 5,000 meter time trial event. Spring racing is a little bit more exciting. And this is what we would be looking to do on Trading House, which is a 2,000 meter race with boats lined up together, all screaming down towards the finish line over 2,000 meters. You can go to the next slide. So just to give you a little bit of background on the Waco Rowing Regatta, served about 300 entries, roughly 1,000 athletes and thousands of fans on the grounds of Brazos Park East. It was tremendously successful. Teams came from all over the country, but just to put into, it's a 1,000 athlete event in year one. And just what we're trying to kind of identify here is that the rowing visitor is a spending visitor for economic impact. We had a study done by Zardico. There was a modest lift in hotel occupancy, but with that lift in hotel occupancy, there was an 8% lift in visitor spending during the event dates compared to the month average. And I can show that in a graph on the next slide. The Magnolia Silos, and this is coming straight from their Magnolia retail operations. This is data. The regatta weekend, we beat their sales forecast by almost 20% for a 1,000-person event. And that is including direct testimonials from people who are visiting the silos. Luke, anything to touch on there?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. You can go to the next slide. So this is just this is again from Zardico. You can see the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th all kind of increasing per the monthly average for a relatively modestly sized event. Again, just showing that for each rowing family that comes to see their child row, or their brother or their dad, whether it's juniors or masters, which this event in the spring would be, they're spenders. Luke, anything to touch on that?
Yeah, to Matt's point, rowing families travel. They're very supportive of their kids, and then we also have masters rowing as well, which are parents who row, and then they're bringing their kids along with them. So, Matt, what is it? 1.5?
About 1.3 to 1.5, depending on the season, travelers per athlete. You can go to the next slide. So this is the Texas Rowing Championship, where we're really lucky to have Luke Walton here in Waco. Luke Walton is not only an Olympic rower, but he's the former executive director of the San Diego Crew Classic, which is a huge event that, Luke, please touch on. I'll just hit some of the highlights here. This is a 2-day event. So, our goal in November was to put on a 1-day event that was so well done that we necessitated the need for a 2-day event. And we're hitting that need and that expectation from the state based on that 5 months on the heels of November. So this would be a 2-day event. It would be it's a state championship. So it means that you're not going to have a lot of crews who would be coming in to travel morning of. If you're going to be coming for a state championship, you're going to want to be coming and making sure your crews are well rested. So you're going to be seeing teams come in as early as Friday, Saturday heats and semis, Sunday finals. It's catered towards both masters and juniors. So just to put in perspective, and then you can kind of go back to thinking about how we did with Magnolia and economic impact. That regatta, there were about 1,000 athletes. We're looking for Texas Rowing Championship in April to be between 2,000 and 2,500 athletes, and between 2 and 3 nights in the hotels rather than just one. 2K sprint style. You'll see in some photos, there's ample parking available and optionality, and just working with the best. Luke, you want to touch?
Just to underscore, in the regatta we held in November, there were teams who traveled day of, either down from Dallas or up from Austin, and so there was not an overnight. There will be at least an overnight, likely 2 overnights for all the teams who are traveling, because this is a championship event. And so most of these teams will descend upon the site on Friday, stay Friday night and Saturday night, and then leave on Sunday. So twice the number of athletes and twice the number of room nights is the expectation for the event.
So this is just a really kind of hits everything. You can kind of see the overview. This is where I know Luke and I and my board get excited, and Mike with the Sports Commission. So this is a course layout, and we have the right people in charge. Tim Royalty, Bob Whitford, they're household names in rowing. They've done successful events in the past, including Olympics for America back in '96. This would be the only 10-lane course. And this is a course that can be temporary. You can put it in for the weekend and then you can take it right out, but you have the infrastructure available for future events, which there would be. This is the only 10-lane course in America. There are just not enough good courses. So you would be establishing right here in McLennan County, 15 minutes outside Waco, one of the best courses in the entire country. So we'd be building infrastructure for both, establishing ourselves as a state capital of rowing, but also regional and then more. And Luke, you want to touch on anything like regatta timing, precision racing, and just some of the expertise of these guys and yourself?
Yeah, so Tim Royalty is a household name to us. To give you a sense of who he is, there really isn't a course in the United States that he has not put in, conceptualized, created. And Bob Whitford is a household name because he has previously managed the Sarasota site in Sarasota, Florida, where they literally spent $20 million to dig out a swamp just to create a rowing course, and then have figured out how to monetize that to the tune of $25 to $30 million a year through various events, through rowing events, through triathlons, and through other park-related events that they host. We're fortunate enough to have the interest of these gentlemen in our project. This 10-lane course is Tim's layout, Tim's design. He was very excited about the waterway when he came out and saw Trading House. And as Steve Cates has said over and over again, you know, you use a golf course as the analogy. You spend enough money, you can put a golf course in anywhere in the world. You cannot do this anywhere between the Brazos, between Trading House. I mean, we have to find these things and to know that it's here and that we can create a 10-lane course, which would be unique. Most courses are 6 lanes. We're looking at 8 to 10 lanes here. Gives us a lot of optionality in our racing. The park itself, where it sits on the finish line, the spit of land that sits at about 500 meters to go. There are so many different reasons why not just the waterway itself, but also the surrounding parkland is very exciting to us in terms of hosting a regatta.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Dumb questions?
Okay, you keep saying that it's a good course and that these things aren't seen in other places. So what makes a body of water, what deems it a good course?
Yeah, conditions are part of it. So a body of water is a good course if it is fair in terms of wind, in terms of water flow, and things along those lines. So I came from, Matt touched upon this, I came from the San Diego Crew Classic. It takes place on Mission Bay. Mission Bay is actually patently unfair. It's a tidal body of water. It's a bay that ebbs and flows. There's a crosswind there, and yet they're able to put on a successful regatta year over year because a lot of bodies of water suffer from these things. They suffer from adverse conditions with wind. They suffer from tide. Here at the reservoir, we've been out a number of times, good days, bad days. The wind conditions stay relatively flat. It gets to a point in rowing where if the wind is strong enough and there are white caps, that can sink boats, that can cause problems. And so these shells, in 8-person rowing boat, for example, it's 60 feet long. It's barely wider than your hips. And so you're sitting in a shell that is, you know, just a really precision machine, but doesn't handle in, you know, wavy conditions and ocean-like conditions. So the way that both the Brazos and Trading House, based on how the Brazos was naturally created, how the reservoir was created, high bank lines, you know, deep in the center. There are a bunch of different reasons why these bodies of water stand up to conditions. And that throughout Texas, for example, in Austin, they had to cancel a regatta earlier this year because they had an invasive species of plants that was growing up through the water, and so it was unrowable. So they canceled a regatta shortly before the regatta we hosted. Up in Dallas and White Rock, where they hosted the Texas Championships last year, due to weather, they had to shorten the course for one, and they had to cancel some of the events. So the likelihood that this body of water will perform better there's a much higher likelihood. I mean, we can't predict the weather, and who knows? It's Texas, right? But it stands up very well in all of the conditions that we've seen so far.
That was
This is
very good question. Very good question.
This is Mike Dixon. I have multiple questions, actually, unless you've got a lot more to go with your presentation.
That's, why don't you finish your presentation, and then Mike, we can ask you questions in.
Yeah, I'll just, you know, you can kind of intermix it's 3 more slides and it's just imaging, but yeah, there are no dumb questions. Rowing, you know, I'm well aware that I moved down here kind of from Philadelphia, which, to put in perspective, is, you know, the West Coast and the East Coast are kind of the 2 historic bastions of rowing. The course that I grew up on, the course that I coached on, the course that I worked on for over a decade, it was about 3 miles of water, terrible water. The Schuylkill might even be more unfair than Mission Bay, a huge current. And one of the things that you can see here is that the body of water just isn't that large. So you're not picking up a ton of wind. You're not picking up a ton of anything. And one of the really cool things is, and I've talked about this with some of you, there's an event that would be larger than this regatta that takes place in Zanesville, Ohio. People are so desperate for bodies of water where they can see their kids and loved ones row that in Zanesville, the rowing course is at an angle. It's basically a 90-degree angle. And you literally, it's like an optical illusion. It's the worst spectating event ever, yet people still go. With this land so relative and so in line with the 2,000-meter course, you have opportunities. And this is where Luke really just excels, and Mike as well, and just creating a tremendous spectator experience, which is one of the things that, if you were there for our fall regatta, you really saw just how lively the grounds were and how many people were there for an entire day. And that's all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, first thing is our park, we have one ADA compliant bathroom. We don't have bathroom facilities to handle anywhere near that size of an event, nor do we have the parking to handle that event. What plans are you making for those two particular requirements?
Luke, I'll let you touch on that.
Yeah, from what we did, for example, in Brazos Park East, or how it operates in San Diego or other regattas, in a lot of ways, it's a pop-up shop. So we're used to bringing in white tents, we're used to bringing in porta potties and ADA compliant bathrooms based on the estimated number of competitors and spectators. So we bring all of that into the park. We bring generators into the park. We bring security into the park. We work with any entities at the park. We bring in lifeguards. We bring in sheriff, et cetera. So for us, it's very much about creating an environment that's safe, creating an environment that's compliant, and have done that in San Diego, have done that at Brazos Park East at the most recent regatta, and we'll do that at the park as well to make sure that we're providing an experience for the athletes that's compelling, both on the water, and then an experience that's compelling and safe and fun for all of the athletes and spectators on land. In terms of parking, we are exploring options in terms of the spillover parking, estimated number of cars. Obviously, we have no interest in having people park along the roadways and things and disrupting the neighboring people's homes and other things that are there. Working on shuttling if there needs to be shuttling, and then also working on that green sort of strip of land behind the park. Is currently for sale, and we're curious if we can't partner with them to have access to that for parking, which would be ideal for the event. Because what we don't want and what we won't have is traffic through the park. In terms of safety, we want to make sure that any spectators and athletes who are walking around are not dealing with moving vehicles at the time of the event.
I will also add that, we've got way over 200 acres and probably a little less than 300 acres. And it's not just the park that, we met at the other day. It extends around in meeting out there with Clayton Skinner and TJ, Ken, Dustin, and myself. There's ways they have now opened up a way to travel from one of those parks to the other without getting on the public road too. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of parking on that second piece of the park that actually is kind of a peninsula that goes out, and it would be towards closer to the starting line, or maybe towards the middle.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of parking there. So
in that area,
I think you're focusing just on the area there, which is long, kind of long and slender, and you're exactly right. It would be hard to accommodate all the parking there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we also have a piece of property that has a boat ramp, that's right across the road, from the, ramp there on Summerfield Road. It's a place to set up, and it could be where the trailers are parked or things like that to get them out of the way. So I don't think we're gonna, and, you know, there's a school that won't be, you know, having classes during the weekend, has a large parking lot. It's about somewhere between a quarter and a half a mile away that we could make some kind of arrangement with them probably.
Yeah, and we are exploring all of that. Ideally, what you would love is for people to be able to park and just walk
Yeah.
into the park. If not, it's very common at multiple regattas, and including the one that I used to work at, that you park and you jump on a shuttle, and that shuttle's 3 minutes to the park, and there's just a running schedule where the shuttles just keep coming to and from the park. And so we're prepared to do it that way as well to make sure that we're doing it right.
Okay, Mike,
Yeah.
you have other questions?
One other, as far as safety, and I've never been to one of these, but I noticed that, you know, none of the participants are wearing even lightweight, safety vests. Do you have people in motorized boats that are ready to go if one of the sculls go down, or if somebody falls out, or how do you prepare for safety on the water?
Yeah, absolutely. So each race, if there are 6 to 8 boats in a race, it will be followed by 2 different motorized boats. Both will have will have referees. Will be on one on each boat, and generally we'll have a lifeguard on one or both boats that follow, or an EMT. And so each race is followed, and they can account for any eventualities that may happen and address those immediately. All of those craft will have flotation devices on them, rings and life preservers. We will also have additional craft that'll be stationed along the course at different points that are generally lifeguards and or EMT, so they can intercept and help in any situations. Just as we did at Brazos Park East in the fall regatta, we will have a first aid station, if not 2, depending on the number of athletes and the layout of the event. And we'll also have an EMT and ambulance on site, as we did in the previous regatta.
And just really quickly, safety is such a concern to us, and doing it well, that we're actually sponsored by Shimano. Our event was in the fall, and it likely will be again here in the spring. You might know them from the fishing rods or
Right.
cycling. They, believe it or not, they do rowing shoes as well, the shoes that are actually in the boat. All of these athletes, in order to row, including our own, have to pass the swim test to row for U.S. Rowing. But Shimano, you know, sorry.
Go right ahead.
Shimano, actually, they were really happy. They were down for the regatta, and they were extremely happy with. We work with Baylor Scott and White. We work with just having we had YMCA lifeguards out there on jet skis. We took it extremely seriously, and took it extremely seriously to the point where Shimano is more than happy to put their stamp of approval on the levels that Luke and ourselves, the rest of us took.
Thank you.
Okay, questions?
I have a question, but I do have, well, maybe it might be a question.
Okay.
But it may be a comment. Have you all seen the movie A Most Beautiful Thing? You
Yes.
probably have. You probably have. We previewed it during our Real Stories film showcase. A Most Beautiful Thing is the story of an all-black high school in Chicago, kind of riddled with gang violence and drugs, and how these young men take a chance on the sport rowing. And it just transformed their lives. And they go from the environment they grew up to, some of them went on to Ivy League schools and continued rowing in scholarships. And so I was really touched by the movie. I didn't know what a regatta was, and I'd seen rowing on TV, but I wasn't that much immersed in the sport. But when I saw that movie, it is transformative. So if you haven't had a chance over the Christmas holidays, watch A Most Beautiful Thing.
Well, y'all must have told her to bring that up because the first meeting we ever had, the individual in that movie, and he was did he write it or?
Ashray.
He wrote,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He actually came to Waco, and y'all
Right.
might tell his involvement in there.
Yeah, Matt?
yeah, I promise I didn't feed that. Arshay is a really dear friend. Arshay is a dear friend to all of us, and I'm really honored to say he's become a dear friend of mine over the last 2 years. Arshay actually moved from Brooklyn to Dallas recently, so he is heavily involved in everything that Waco Rowing Center does. We're two branches. We have our events side, and then we have our youth side. That is, the revenues directly from these events go to allowing our youth, particularly which we are serving underserved youth, to learn how to row, to learn how to swim again by the end of the year. With Arshay's help, we are A Most Beautiful Thing has a fund, an inclusion fund. We are not only the only rowing center in McLennan County, but we are the only rowing center in all of Texas that is associated with Arshay Cooper's fund. He's a tremendous human being. He's fully invested behind this. He was at our regatta in the fall. I have no doubt he will be down here in April. You're absolutely correct. Everybody should go watch his film. We wouldn't be here without him. We wouldn't be doing this without this mission. Luke and I come from as older school rowing kind of communities in that exist in the country. And what we have a chance to do here is throw these events, but do so in a state where we can redefine how rowing looks and how rowing should represent the rest of our country. So Arshay is directly involved with this project. Also on our board is another gentleman by the name of Dan Walsh, who's on Arshay's board. He's an Olympic medalist. That's an incredible movie. Arshay's been in town, multiple times. He comes here often, and I'm really happy that you brought that up because it's extremely important to what we're doing.
There's a connection between this organization and some of the friends of the organization that will be, and part of their mission is to bring the youth into this sport, or give them opportunity to look at it, teach them water safety and those things first, and then it'd be a sport that, some folks can run fast, some are tall, and those things, but it gives another option for people to be able to participate and compete, and especially, they especially focus on schools that have a higher percentage of low to moderate income, folks that normally couldn't get involved in a sport like this. So that's one thing that impresses us in our early look at it.
I agree with you. And so that was going to be kind of my comment. Maybe the sports commission, I know you're working with the project to bring in our school districts, our students, and let them kind of volunteer or in some way, interact with this event, because it's so transformative to be able to a sport, again, like the judge said, to be a pathway to college, and it just changed the lives of those young men. So all of our students, all of our students across all of our school districts, whoever would be interested in it, I just think it's really great and commendable of you guys.
Yeah, rowers can be very passionate and very myopic in the view of rowing. It's just rowing, rowing, rowing. One of the things that Matt and I talk about all the time are what are the things that are rowing adjacent that are important. And what we mean by that is in working with with La Vega and working with their athletes there, we've had a lot of young people who've been very interested in, I want to row. And so the first barrier is swimming. And so they've been, learning to swim. And so, and being swim certified. That program is set up that if you want to learn to swim, you learn to swim. It doesn't require you to row. And so we think that that's important. One of the things that's important in what we're doing. Another thing that we're doing is La Vega has a very strong multimedia presence on campus with students that are flying drones and doing interviews and doing all sorts of stuff. And so one of their fall projects was to come down to the waterway, down to the boathouse, to film, to interview their peers and to be involved. So they were not only there for their fall project, but they were also with us at the regatta doing the same thing. And we would anticipate that interest in doing that as well in April and having them at the state championship. So what we're trying to figure out is rowing's a great vehicle, and we can be very sort of biased in terms of, oh, rowing's great, but it really is about, to Judge, to your point, it's opportunities, right? Just what are different ways to activate and the opportunities that are available. So we're trying to think a little more globally because the rowing community can get very sort of, sort of myopically focused about rowing, and that really just comes from the passion. But we're trying to take that to more of a global perspective to get more people involved, because not everybody thinks rowing's great. That's okay, right? If there are other ways to be involved and we can be a part of that, we're very interested in it.
Commissioner
Well, now
Smith
I see
has
really
a
cool.
question.
Well, it's more for Mike, really. Mike, you mentioned you need to be on the Baylor campus at 10 a.m. for a meeting.
What are they asking?
We don't want to take away from that. Do you need to interject something and
Well, I
then
was just
get out of
gonna-
here? Or?
To echo your point, I've known Luke and Matt and Steve, and have been on this project for a little over a year, probably since last November. So this is something that I've been very passionate about. And so working with them and Dr. Shields at La Vega and trying to promote the water safety and survival, and being able to try and also bring in other different partners. I've had conversations with Waco Surf and being able to use their bodies of water because that's nearby La Vega. And so, yes, we're very excited about rowing and not only the economic impact and the event side of it, but we're really excited about the community impact and being able to change lives here locally and being able to use those resources that come in from these events to be able to impact the families and individuals here in the county. So, yes, I've been very excited.
Well, I thank you. I think it's a extremely exciting event. I think it's going to turn rowing cool.
I think so too.
Yeah, rowing already is cool.
Could I ask one more thing, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
And I sound like the Grinch. It sounds great, and I'm,
You are the Grinch.
I'm all for it. But,
We know about you. Yeah.
and you mentioned it earlier, parking along the road. We absolutely cannot have people parking on both sides of the county roads because they're not made, they're just barely made for two cars to pass each other. And even cars parked on one side of the road would be a problem. So there may end up having to be no parking signs put up, but just so we know we're all on the same page, that's something that can't happen.
No, absolutely. And if I misspoke earlier, no, the intention would be to make sure that there is no parking along the roadway and impacting any of the roadways or homes in the area. And we're willing we can bring on parking enforcement and have people making sure and get out all of the diagrams and information in advance to make sure people park where they're supposed to. But for anyone who's been to an event anywhere, people get very creative where they decide to start parking. So I think we will, based on the layout as it exists now, it will necessitate parking enforcement. And so we'll have people out there who will be directing and making sure that people aren't parking where they're supposed to be. And then we'll, always use that fun word, tow, and we'll just kind of dangle that out there to make sure people follow the rules.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Commissioner Jones.
yeah, I have a question. Are y'all aware that water level changes?
Yes.
And that we do not, as far as I know, we don't directly control it at all.
We do not control it at all.
Right.
As
So we
far as
can't-
the level. And it's a flood control, it's classified as flood control and power generation, which no longer happens. And so they don't manage it for recreation. And it got to the 2011 low, But since that low, it's come up a foot, because of the recent rains.
Right.
Are y'all okay with the low level where it is right now?
So Tim's diagram and layout is based on his survey of the course, which I believe was July or August. And so he came out and saw it at a pretty low level, and created the course as such. Most racing is 6 to 8 lane racing. It's actually pretty rare to utilize all 10 lanes. In doing so, having a 10 lane course, if the water were to drop further, and it is impacting the near lanes, we can shift the course further out from the shore, and that'll buy us another 80 feet, 80 to 100 feet further off the shoreline that people would be racing. Now, ideally, yeah, we'd love to enter the conversations about, keeping the water level a bit higher, as I think the community would as well. In the times that we've been there, boat ramp access is not available right now.
And so we're in the third La Nina winter.
Right.
And at the end of that, you generally have a flood season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess if it's flooded, there will be no event.
How much does it flood? I guess that's a question that I would.
How high can it get?
Well, I forget the numbers. I think it'd have to come up like 6 or 7 feet, but when it's completely full and there's an emergency spillway, that I can only remember maybe twice, but I think just once it actually got there, because the drawdown is below the emergency spillway.
Right.
And so it eventually will come back down. But even when it's flooded, it's not like fast water or anything like that. It's just that the shoreline is further back. And so I don't think even at that.
It's got a long ways to go.
Yeah, and bass fishermen, if it's flooded or low, if they can get access to the boat ramp, which they can't right now, then they'll be out there.
Y'all will have lightning detectors and things like that.
Yeah, so we have an emergency action plan, and the emergency action plan includes things like lightning, from
because you are in the lightning season.
Yeah, so there'll be weather monitors for that. There'll also be visual monitors. We'll be in constant communication. We had 30 Motorola radios that were handed out to all personnel, from emergency personnel to referees to myself and others who work on the grounds. We have evacuation plans in place for the quickest way to get everybody out of the water and where to send them, how to account for everyone. So yes, absolutely.
Great.
And I'd like to introduce Steve, public sector guy, but to tell the court that, we've been in discussions, and so we're just now formulating some kind of arrangement, trying to understand, first of all, what's our responsibility and what can we commit to, and get that to a document that the court, and we've been working on it. Mike and Dustin been working on it along with Matthew and Luke to try to have something that looks like what our deal is. And then in regards to the ownership of the water, I've had conversations with them. All they want is just a no liability, named as additional pay on loss and those kind of things. And so, and they say, we allow bass tournaments all the time, so what's the difference, And the only thing to consider is that whether, and knowing now, and we make a decision quick, we need to, because they need to be planning over the next several weeks, that we can put up a notice that we may choose to close the boat ramps for that weekend, just for that weekend only. And, the TJ is working on improvements out there. So I think the public is going to get a benefit. They're going to get a better park when this is over with, if we can continue to do it year after year. As you know, we get 2% of the hotel rooms. If anything, that's a sports commission's challenge, is to try to bring events in. I like the multiple day opportunities there to increase hotel, because that's our opportunity to make some money. So that's where we'll go with it. Steve, he's an old wore-out retired insurance guy that been here in Waco, and I didn't know he knew anything about rowing. I had seen him up the creek without a paddle a couple of times. We were on several boards together, and he's a very active, very McLennan County focused guy, and wants it to be a better place. And so, Steve, you have any comments?
No, I just appreciate the consideration. I'm in it for a variety of reasons. One, it puts McLennan County and Waco on a national map. The coach from Dartmouth was here last weekend, and he's planning on coming back. So we have more national attention of the rowing community right now than we even do locally. The second thing is the outreach program to socioeconomically disadvantaged youth. We are from the ground up on that. Most of these rowing clubs have been around for 150 years. It's hard to change their attitude about expanding the sport. The men haven't won an Olympic medal in rowing in 2 Olympics. The women were carrying them until the last Olympics. We want some kids from Waco in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles.
Right.
So I appreciate any consideration. I did go out to Mission Bay. I went out to San Diego. A lot of the questions that come up, I mean, there's speedboats out there, there's jet craft, it's titles, and this is a perfect venue. Actually, it was discovered by Tim Royalty, who came out to look at Lake Waco. He said, this is not the place, guys. Trading House Creek is where we need to be.
Great. Any other questions? So, we'll come back to the court at the, more than likely, hopefully, my goal is at the next meeting, and have something to look at. Y'all can twist, turn, burn, hope not burn. I think does anybody have a problem? Does anybody see any problems with this at all, anything?
Nope.
So that's a good indication. We're gonna figure out how to get this deal done.
Thank you.
But not a commitment. Just an
Understood.
intention, and we'll commit with a signed document. So,
Based on that, Judge, can we say, while we wait a commitment, that we need to get the word out that the plan would be to hold the Texas race in the Waco area?
well, you can say that's our intention, and we still have, and this is a public meeting, it's recorded. Other people could be online, news and those things, they're gonna.
That's not a secret anymore.
It's not a secret anymore, that's okay, so, and the only reason why it was, we didn't really talk about it before is because we needed to be sure we understood this thing, and I think we've got a good understanding of it, so.
So we need no action, like a preliminary approval pending.
Now, Dustin, do you see any action necessary?
Judge, I think you could direct legal to finalize the use agreement and bring it back to court. And then there's also, we've talked with Matt and Luke about Texas has a mass gathering act, and it's where if there's 2,500 people and it's outside of a municipality, that gets triggered. That's actually reviewed by the county judge. And so we'll do more of a deep dive into that and see if that is going to be triggered. It depends. Hallsburg city limits kind of cut through our park area is what it looks like. And so it may or may not be needed, but it's something that needs a detailed look too. But it's good because it has all the things Luke has mentioned, the emergency action plan, and it just makes sure there's proper protocols and safety and around that number of people. So.
Okay, and as Dustin mentioned, the court asked legal to work on this, direct, and along with working with Dustin and my office, and then we'll have something right back for the court to take in.
That's what I was gonna ask, a timeline. So I know today you're wanting to know, can we make this announcement, but can we give them a time? Can we have all this done by the first meeting of the new year?
I think Matt is working on trying to get a few use agreements to us, hopefully by the end of today, just kind of samples, so we don't have to start from scratch. And once we get those, Mike, do you think we could have something turned around pretty quick?
Okay.
Judge Mike's on mute.
Yeah, we're getting a little pressure from the rowing community because they have seen the plans, and it is, it's arguably, it's predictably the best body of water possible. Austin Rowing Club has a placeholder for the event in April in case they need to host it there. They need to forfeit that by December 30th, and so we received an email yesterday about that.
Well,
So we are getting pressure, but you know, we want to work within a reasonable timeline at the same time for all of you for any questions and things like that. But yeah, the rowing community is eager, and you know, I think we met a need in the fall, especially with Austin canceling the regatta, and we'll meet a need even further as the best potential rowing course for, or the best rowing course for a springtime race in Texas. So, you know, that's our goal is meeting that.
Judge, and we can get an agreement together very quickly. I mean, we could have it by well before the first meeting of the year.
Okay. Well, and we'll let y'all review it, and then the final approval will be has to be at the Commissioners Court meeting, but if if we have something we're comfortable with, and y'all look at it and you're comfortable with, then you should feel comfortable to tell Austin to go row their boat somewhere else.
Yeah, we're getting more and more emails about this in a great way. They're very eager to see what we can do here because they see the potential in all of it as well.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Dustin, what's the next agenda item, and that we can finish in 15, 20 minutes?
All right, judges, do you want to take any action on that to just direct us to work on the use agreement, or did you just want to defer it and we put it?
I thought I guess I thought I did, but
Yeah, all you have to do, you directed us to work on it. We'll work on it.
all right. So is there? So do you need a motion, Dustin? Is what you're asking?
We can just show no action taken, and then we'll work on it and bring it back on the 3rd.
No action taken. All right. Thank you.
All right, just quickly under item K4, this is regarding the Texas Veterans Commission Fund for Veterans Assistance, ratification of submission of 2023-2024 Veterans Treatment Court Grant application. This is an application in the amount of $100,000, and it will be used to expand the inpatient treatment and monitoring for veterans that are participants in the Veterans Treatment Court.
Okay.
Move to ratify? Is that what you need?
Yes, sir.
That'd be my motion.
All right.
Second.
Motion and approved to ratification of the grant application. We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Right, we can move back up to those pools from the consent agenda. E3 is Human Resources. E3A is Criminal District Attorney. Anna?
Thank you, Justin. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I have here a request to fill a vacancy in the district attorney's office that's critical prior to the exhaustion of paid time off. And so there is a resignation from the position, the first assistant position, which is again, that critical position in the district attorney's office. This person who is leaving this position, the exiting employee, has a maximum paid time off accrual balance of 240 hours. Just knowing that this is a critical position for somebody coming in, I want to go ahead and just be proactive and request from the court that the position be filled prior to this exhaustion. So it's not set to exhaust this paid time off until February 10th of this following year. And my request is to be able to have the incoming official have the flexibility and ability to fill the vacancy as soon as January 4th of 2023.
Okay, it's something we've done in the past. I think the new DA coming wants to hit the ground running, be sure that we've got positions filled to the extent that's approved by budget. So I would make a motion that we approve this. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion second, any discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
E6C is recording of hotel occupancy tax reports for June through November 2022. If we can defer this, we're still trying to make sure those reports are, we have it covered for each month and they are correct.
Okay, I make a motion, we defer.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Right, moving on to item F, budget and budget amendments. F1 is regarding the FY22 budget. Francis?
Yes, we just have one more budget amendment for FY '22. We had brought to you an all-inclusive amendment on the last agenda. There was one line item that got left off. So this is just to clean up the overtime pay line in the jail budget. And so we were able to find excess budget in other personnel lines for the correctional facilities.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So that's only one under the 22, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, pleasure of the court.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right. FY '23 budget.
So FY '23 going to F2. So F2A, there is 1, 2, and 3. These are all regarding the new special revenue fund we're using this year. It's called the Language Access Fund. So that fund can be used for language translation services for the courts. So the first one is for 19th District Court, amount of $3,500. Number 2, F2A2 is for County Court at Law 3 for $3,000. And then number 3 is JP5. We're increasing that in the amount of $500. And so we didn't know exactly how this would play out when we first started, but we're moving money within that same fund into the necessary courts. Then F2B, there are 2 under permanent improvement fund relating to the 2021 bond. And so F2B1, this is a budget amendment for a cost for asbestos abatement for 415 Columbus. So you approved this proposal on the December 6th agenda. And then F2B2, this is for the downtown jail remodel. This was the invoice you approved on the last agenda for the Brinkley Sargent services, for the architect services. And then moving to F2C, we have 2 under the county sheriff. So the first one is within the medical department, moving from the repair and maintenance lines into professional development for additional cost that they are going to incur. And then F2C2, this is a budget amendment request from contingencies into furniture and equipment. They had budgeted for a purchase of equipment, but had netted the amount. There was a trade-in involved in the purchase of the equipment, and so of course we have to book the full purchase of the equipment and then the revenue that comes in for the trade-in. So this is that trade-in piece, $9,000. Again, we did receive revenue in as a trade-in to cover that cost.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve F2-1A through F2C2?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Right, we have nothing under item G. Under item H, contracts and interlocals. H1 is authorization of interlocal cooperative agreement with Lorena Independent School District for routine road maintenance, Road and Bridge Precinct 1. Commissioner Smith?
I put that in form of a motion to enter into this agreement with them to an amount not to exceed $16,500 for labor, equipment, and materials as they have problems come up.
Second.
Motion made second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H2 is authorization of master sales agreement with Timekeeping Systems Incorporated for Guard 1 real-time tracking system, McLennan County Detention Facilities. David Ives?
Commissioners, Judge, how are y'all?
Fine. Good morning.
Morning.
The Guard One system is a system that we are looking at to replace the Ryan technology system that did not work properly. And we went to IT and asked them for a recommendation. This system is the system that is currently utilized at Juvenile. It became highly recommended to us from IT, highly recommended from Juvenile. There are a couple of different options in the paperwork that you have before you. And the main difference between those is the armband system. And we would like the better armband system. I believe it's one that Juvenile runs. Provides a little bit better security, RFID chips. They don't tear up as easy. Inmates can't swap them around. So you have inmate A getting inmate B's medication, food supply, rations, things of that nature. Do y'all have any questions about it? We had the contract in there as well as the pricing schedules and the options. We do plan on paying for this from our inmate commissary proceeds, but there will be a yearly maintenance cost, just like there was with Ryan Technologies, and those costs are definitely different between the two different options. So this year, we are going to be covering the entire deal from the inmate commissary, and then in next year's budget proposal, you'll see a request for an increase in repair and maintenance to cover the additional money for the contractual services for the new system.
So this is definitely an upgrade over what we have at the time right now.
Yes, yes, sir, that is correct. Right now, we have nothing. So we have a
Okay.
big cheap
So it is a
tablet.
big
and
upgrade, yeah.
We have a big chief tablet and a pencil.
Okay.
So it's an enormous upgrade for us. And if you look through some of the pamphlet that we put in the agenda, it shows some basic pictures of like how the digital system works. The amount of labor that it saves the jail staff to have these digitized records for historical purposes, for going back and looking up incident information, being able to do that digitally instead of having to flip through a steno pad is certainly a way better system, and we just need to get up to 2001 standards with.
What's the time frame between now and when you can get it?
I believe.
We're up and running.
Yes, sir.
So we believe that they'll be ready to come out in January. That's what they're predicting. You know, I need to call Nicole back. She was calling me a while ago, but and then you know there will be a time period in which we have to get adjusted to using the system. So they will come out and train our employees, train the trainer, have our people trained, and then we will train our own people. So, you know, I'd like to be running full speed on this by March, is my, you know, I anticipate that. But, you know, we just have to get everyone on board. I'm not sure, you know, people don't like change. So getting all of our employees on board and getting them proficient with this system, it will take a little bit of time, but I can tell you the hours and the paper that it's going to save us and trying to keep up with all of these papers and archive them. It's a lot. We're looking at, I was doing a little bit of math yesterday, you know, it's probably 50,000 sheets of paper that we're having to archive every year. I'm trying to keep up with that, then go back and make corrections on all of these. You know, there's a lot of human error that happens. Jailers missing signatures. We're late on times doing walks at times, and then trying to go back and track all of that on paper. It's monotonous. It takes a lot of time from our supervisors on shift every day, about 4 hours to completely audit a single book. And there's 20 books in both jails. So it takes a lot of time, and you know, the TCJS has asked us to start looking to go digital. This will definitely help us go digital, in which the inspectors come in and they can review this information a lot simpler. It's readily available to you guys or anybody who wants to see it. And so we will be at industry standard if we
One more
this.
question then, and I'll zip it. What's the shelf life?
So the shelf life on the product has a rolling maintenance agreement, just like, say, EDOC, right? So this is a newer technology that's using an Android platform with an RFID chip. So there aren't anything that's going to have to be embedded in a wall, right? These chips are just installed, and they can be moved and recoded around. If you look on the quote, the products will probably have to get new tablets after, you know, like how often do you get a new tablet in your office? You know, every 5 years when security updates mandate it. But that's not the bulk of the cost of the system. So the RFIDs and the handheld devices are certainly not the bulk of the cost. They're a large part of it. Just the service itself, the access to the online, it's the same with our eDoc service. If you look at the bulk of the cost now, initially it was equipment, and now it's the maintenance of the service itself and the user licenses. And it'll be the same with this. The user licenses will continue to be, over time, the overwhelming, or the largest portion of the cost. The equipment won't be. So I would think that this is a fairly new system. So longevity, we're hoping to get, from the time it's installed before we need anything. I think the base warranty on the thing was 3 years, and then from there, there's an escalator that'll be involved that we, of course, would bring to the court when that becomes germane to the project, but it won't be for 3 years.
Other questions?
I know in reading Guard One, electronically, you can monitor your security rounds, you monitor inmate movement, and my understanding from reading it is it's being implemented other places across the country and evidently successfully. So it just seems like a prudent and logical step to take.
Sure.
To eliminate a lot of pencil work.
We had looked at a couple different systems, and then after we looked at them, IT had recommended that we check this one out with Juvenile. They were happy, Juvenile was happy, so we did so. It seemed to fit our need, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel if we already have it at the county.
And I think that's what we were looking at is, what fits our needs. And the fact that Juvenile was using it, and then it works with our jail management system. We already use our jail management system in other places, so it works for us. And the presentation they gave us, we were coming up with ideas on the fly, like, wow, you create it's creating an inmate profile virtually. So when we pass medication to these inmates, their whole profile pulls up. We can track, how, are they taking their meds, are they not? We have a lot of mental health patients in our facilities. So tracking that is difficult at times. We have to go to medical right now in order to get all of that information. When on the device, we can actually pull it up and see, are they taking their meds? Are they eating? We have inmates that refuse to eat at times. And so it's a lot. All the information's right there at your hands. And so we think it's going to be very, very good system.
And I think it would protect not only the SO, but also the county when it comes to tracking inmates movement, mental health patients.
Yes, sir. And just something I wanted to add, and that's the liability that comes with the jail. It's this system, right now we have to go back in the books and search for any errors, any human errors that our jailers have made or we've made on shift. This will instantly pop up a red flag when we miss, a 1 hour walk, and we go to a minute or an hour, 5 minutes. It instantly pops that up, so we can track it all the time. The errors pop up for us in order for us to see them and correct them, rather than waiting that, I'd say 2 weeks before we may actually find the error and have to go back and correct it. So it's instant.
Ken? I would like to point out this is also under a DIR contract. So for the amount of money, I just want to reassure the court.
I missed what you said, Ken, to start with.
This Guard One is under a DIR contract. So we're safe on the amount of money that we're spending. Yes.
The 53,690 in subscription fees. So do you see that you say this year it'll come out of commissary?
Correct.
So next, so you wouldn't want to charge that to the commissary fund next year? Is that you want to?
So, Commissioner, we have typically not liked to have rolling charges to any revenue-based, like the courthouse security fund, something that's just a recurring thing every year, like one-time purchases. So we already have budgeted $19,000, right at $20,000 for the Ryan Tech maintenance every year, split between facilities, of course. This last budget session, we gave up around $48,000, $52,000 worth of repair and maintenance funds because we felt it was prudent, as we weren't fully utilizing those every single year. So I think if we did ask for something, we're asking for a smaller portion of that back than what we gave up overall last year. It's just going to be the difference between the two systems.
Other questions? All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Make a motion to approve the request.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
Thank y'all.
Let's see,
Thank you, guys.
Justin, do you want to get the rest of these items, or is that all?
Yes, sir. So David, these next two, we may need your input on, but I'll try to run through them. H3 is regarding the lease agreement with Pitney Bowes for McLennan County Jail Machine. Under this, we have two action items. So back in August, we approved a lease agreement with Pitney Bowes and thought that it had the same features as the previous machine, but the scale was too small and it did not include a label printer. We brought that back in November and approved it, but it was still missing the label printer. So we need H3A as an action to rescind the previous approval on November 15th for the additional features for the mail machine. And then H3B is authorization of corrected lease agreement for the additional features for the mail machine. And that includes both the proper size scale and the label printer that is needed.
All right, and then there's H4.
H4 is authorization of maintenance and support agreement with DataWorks Plus. This is for the county sheriff mugshot system, and this is the additional year of the support agreement for that, and it totals the same as last year, $11,330.90, no increase.
All right, are there any questions for David on this? If not, is there a motion to approve H3 through H5?
So move.
H4, Judge.
H4, okay, thank you.
Again, motion to approve.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. Thank you. All right, let's see, CPNY is here. Tell you what, that's, we've pushed this about as far as I can push it. Let's take a 5-minute break and then come back in and we'll take care of the CPNY issue. Are we already recording?
It's just like it was in slow motion.
Okay, let's call court back in session. All right, Dustin?
All right, yes, sir. Going on to item H5, authorization of wastewater inspection system agreement with Riddell Septic LLC for Road and Bridge Precinct 2. Like to call on Commissioner Miller or TJ?
Good morning. This is the septic system maintenance agreement on the new device that we had to put in the new building. And this is just the septic system maintenance agreement on the new septic system. If there are no questions, I would move to approve the agreement with Riddell Septic LLC.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed.
Right, moving down to item I2 regarding the 415 Columbus site demolition proposal of Walker Partners, authorization of engineering survey invoice. And this is invoice number 23467. Ken?
Yes, we had a little meeting with them. They have been working on the topographical survey. They had some questions. We met with them and tried to answer their questions. So they've submitted an invoice for $3,500 for their topographical survey, which is half the amount that's actually in their proposal.
Okay. All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
I3 is regarding McLennan County downtown jail remodel for courtrooms and office space. This is the agreement with Brinkley Sargent Wigington Architects, authorization of invoice number 2. This invoice totals $89,457.68, and it covers supplemental services, including their programming and conceptual layout work, and then the electronic as-builts.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed.
We have nothing under item J this week. Under item K, can we hold the ARPA discussion till the end of the agenda? Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, dropping down, K2 is the bipartisan infrastructure law. We've reached out to Georgette Ibarra at TLC to see if we can get an update sometime during the month of January. So no action needed today.
All right.
K3 is regarding the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, the SCAP grant, authorization of FY22 grant application submission. This is just the annual grant we apply for. We just need a motion to approve that grant application.
All right. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
We have nothing under item L. Under item M, additional items for discussion and potential action. M2 is authorization of request to join the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance. Ken?
Yes, we received a requisition from the jail for a item called a tank box. It's property box, storage box that we purchased for the jail to put inmate items in. We were taking a look at previous orders, and it had gone up quite a bit. So we were kind of looking at it and talking to the company about what we might do with that. And we found out they're on a cooperative. And by joining the cooperative, we can save about $1,000 on our order. So I'm coming to the court asking for permission to join this co-op. It's electronic registration, so I'm actually asking permission from the court to allow me to register with this co-op on the online registration.
And there might be other things that we could use.
Yes, sir.
Through this access.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions? If not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M3 is approval of order declaring certain property as waste and authorizing the recycle or disposal of said waste property. Ken?
Yeah, this is a standard order I bring to the court each year. We have certain items that we come up with that we don't deem as being a salvage or surplus property, And this is just a court order to allow me to dispose of some of these items as waste. Again, I'm running a little bit late this year, bringing it to the court, but would like court's permission to allow me to make some of those decisions. Basically getting rid of trash.
Yeah. Any questions? None, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have motion and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
M4 is approval of order exempting vehicle and equipment repairs from requirements of section 262.023 of the local government code. Ken?
Again, this is another order that I bring to the court yearly, allows us to exempt the vehicle and equipment repairs. When we take a piece of equipment in to have it repaired, a lot of times there's no way in knowing how much it's going to cost. And so by allowing this exemption, we don't have to worry so much about the specific cost of repairing an item. I bring up a situation where we had a piece of equipment that we thought was going to be easy repair, and it ended up having sand in the hydraulic system, and it cost a lot more than was ever expected. And at that time, it went over our bid limit. So this is something I started bringing to the court standardly to exempt those repairs.
Okay, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion is made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
M5 is acceptance of bond, statement of elected appointed officer, certificate of election, and other related documents for various elected and or appointed county officials. And those are in your packet, and we just need a motion to accept those documents.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to accept those documents?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass.
M6 is authorization of order accepting monetary donation. This is an order accepting the monetary donation from Linebarger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson totaling $400 for incentives for food for families.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Under item N, Americans with Disabilities Compliance Project, N1 is authorization of professional services invoice with CPNY. This is their ADA study report for the month of November. It covers works at the MHMR Crisis Center and totals $1,041.75.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve this.
Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Under item O, McLennan County Venue Project, O1 is regarding the construction manager at risk agreement with John W. Irwin General Contractor. O1A is authorization of application and certificate for payment number 2. This is for the Area B demolition project, and it totals $308,749, and it has been reviewed and recommended for approval.
All right, any questions anyone have? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve. Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Right, we can go back to item K1. This is the ARPA discussion, and under it, there are several. K1A is approval of the subrecipient agreements for arsenic abatement. We'll need to pull K1A1, K1A3, A4, and A5 for no action. Those have transitioned to beneficiary agreements, and they show up on your supplemental agenda under item B1A, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have those 4, and then that leaves the RESL agreement on the main agenda as a subrecipient. So Mike, did you want to kind of step through these and talk about the reason those change from subrecipient to beneficiary agreements?
Right. We've talked to Forbes, our consultant, and they determined that 4 out of the 5 arsenic abatement agreements were beneficiary agreements. And that's a good thing because it saves us a lot of monitoring. Essentially, we give them the money. We don't have to monitor it. And spend thousands of dollars on monitoring fees, and we have no liability, according to Forbes, we have no liability if they fail to finish on time, use it wrong or whatever, because it's with the beneficiary agreement, it's like you're handing them the money for the proper purpose and depending on them to do it. We did have draw requests as part of the contracts with these four. Forvis indicated that that would make it look like a subrecipient agreement and didn't want it to be perceived as a subrecipient agreement by audit because we wouldn't have done the subrecipient monitoring. We still have the monitoring engineer reviewing periodically and reporting progress. And we still have a termination clause where, you know, if the monitoring engineer saw they were out there building a building instead of doing their arsenic agreement, we could terminate the contract and demand repayment. But then Riesel, because it's not a nonprofit, it has to stay a subrecipient agreement, and that means it's under all sorts of subrecipient monitoring and has draw requests and monitoring provisions all through the contract. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
And to make clear, even though the Riesel one is what we're talking about now, on the beneficiary agreements, they will be getting the money within 30 days of full execution of the agreement. But it's subject, the way, there's an order that I've given you. There's 3 of them, or 2 of them, one of them don't have their SAM number yet, and will approve the agreements, but the judge will not sign those agreements until they have shown that they have obtained a SAM number, which is a grant tracking number.
All right, any questions?
Just to be certain I understand, Mike, what you're saying is with a beneficiary agreement, the agreements that we're entering into with these companies, if the project doesn't come to fruition, we will not be, meaning we, McLennan County, will not be held liable from the federal government to return any monies that we've given these people.
That is correct. That's what we asked Forvis that directly, and they have researched that, and they said that's correct.
And
They're just becoming the beneficiary of the grant now instead of the county.
Speaking to the microphone,
I'm
please.
so sorry. I should say, so yes, so they are becoming the beneficiary of those.
So they would be directly responsible themselves?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
For repayment?
For repayment.
For repayment if they used it for an improper purpose or something like that.
Okay. Takes us out of the.
Yeah, takes
out of
us
the middle.
out. and-
Takes us out of the loop.
There's still
Yeah.
an abundant amount of scrutiny within,
Sure.
you know, their operation when they make decisions
Okay.
to redirect when the public has been told, no, that, you know, that's not.
And we still have our monitoring engineer checking their projects
Sure.
and giving you progress reports.
Sure. But any
So-
money that they spend, Mike, up front, after they get our money, they're responsible to the federal government for that, because we're out of the loop.
We're out of the loop, yes.
Okay.
And like I say, that was one of our specific concerns, and Forvis researched that and gave us an assurance that she explained it kind of like it's almost like a donation, but it's not, obviously not a
Right.
donation.
Sure.
But once you do it, you're done.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay. Is,
So Judge, it may be, oh, sorry, Judge, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say Mike drafted an order that's in the packet. It may be easiest to, I can read that order if that's okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind, read it into the record.
Okay, it's an order approving arsenic abatement, ARPA agreements, and authorizing the county judge to sign the agreements with entities having SAM numbers and to sign other agreements as the entities receive their SAM number. Be it ordered by the Commissioners Court of McLennan County, Texas. One, that the subrecipient arsenic abatement agreement with the city of Riesel, Texas is approved and the county judge is authorized to sign the same. Two, that the beneficiary arsenic abatement agreement with the Leroy Tours Gerald Water Supply Corporation is approved and the county judge is authorized to sign the same. Three, that the beneficiary arsenic abatement agreements with Byron Water Supply Corporation, FHLM Regional Water Supply Corporation, and Prairie Hill Water Supply Corporation are approved, and the county judge is authorized to sign the same once those entities provide proof of obtaining a SAM number.
Okay, any questions on that?
Okay, so the subrecipient, we're staying with the subrecipient with the city of Riesel.
Right.
Okay. In that agreement, Mike, does it cover us, recourse-wise if?
Oh,
if-
yes.
If
It
the
covers
project
us
is not,
recourse.
that's in that agreement. I thought I read that in that agreement.
Right, it covers us recourse wise, but it also has a draw request function where
Okay.
they have to submit a draw request for a monitoring engineer. And the monitoring engineer has to approve it or approve it in a specific amount if he doesn't agree with the whole amount or whatever. So we've got two layers of protection. We've got their project engineer looking at the request, and then we've got our monitoring engineer looking at the request.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Sorry, but what exactly are we approving? This order?
The order.
They just read
Did he
it.
just
Oh, just went, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Not, call for a vote.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Judge Dalton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Pass. Thank you.
We do have one other ARPA action item. K1B is authorization of American Rescue Plan budget adjustment. Francis?
Yes, this is just a budget adjustment to clean up budget lines under the ARPA fund. So if you just go down the middle column, we are adjusting for the MCC project, the McLennan Community Investment Fund project, the McLennan County Emergency 911 District project, and the McLennan County Fire Protection Association contract. So you'll see those in each specific expenditure category. The one for fire protection, you'll see under revenue replacement, that agreement that went through the beginning of November, the way that agreement had to be written, it had to fit into the revenue replacement category. So that's why you'll see that there. And then lastly, the line item for Forvis, that's the additional contract for the subrecipient monitoring and additional services.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
That should be all the action items on the agenda. And we do have an executive session under 551.089 when you're ready.
All right. Okay, under 551.089 of the government code regarding security devices, security audits, including but not limited to security assignments and deployments relating to information, resources and technology, and so on and so forth. And so we will go into that executive session at 10:58 and ask Dustin and Anna, Who else needs to be staying though?
Mike and then Steve Hernandez, for part of it as well.
Mike Dixon, Steve Hernandez.
Recording stopped.
Guard the hen house or something?
That's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
All right, let's call court back in session. Is there anything else to come before court today? If not, we stand adjourned.